Hi, my name is Steve Martilli, and in today's video I'm going to explain the concept of the illusion of truth. I actually did a video like this 12 years ago, and it got a lot of attention, and I think it helped a lot of people. So that's why I'm going to be covering that again today in today's video. It's sort of my updated version of the illusion of truth. The concept hasn't changed, and I'll just give you the concept first. And this is direct from Wikipedia, okay? So if you trust Wikipedia, which I do, then this is what Wikipedia says illusion of truth is. It's the tendency to believe false information to be correct after repeated exposure. Okay, let me read it again. The tendency to believe false information to be correct after repeated exposure. And here's the key part. It's believe. Not just like influence you, but influence you at a very deep level because it's at the belief level. And there's a couple ways, there's at least two ways that I can think of right now that this is being used. But what more importantly, after I explain those, I want to share how you can use it to change your beliefs. Okay? So the media is a good example, right? Anything mainstream media, they put out a narrative. I'll give you one that's current, actually, that you might not be consciously aware of. So if you follow Joe Rogan or not, I don't. I used to for a while, then I stopped following him. But the latest narrative that I'm hearing is he's a racist, which I think is hilarious. But the reason that narrative is coming is because the mainstream media has decided to put in social cues, programming, to get people to think a certain belief or concept about someone. Okay, is it true? I mean, if you follow him, you probably know that it's not true, right? If you follow them for some length of time. But the point is this: the mainstream narrative is going to get you to believe whatever they want you to believe, with repeated exposure to the same piece of information over and over and over again. The more you hear it, the more believable and familiar it becomes. That familiarity turns into a belief, okay? So that's how the outside programs the inside to stifle and restrict our power as human beings. It's really that simple. They're using the illusion of truth. They're using a media to change our perceptions, but not just like a subtle thing. We're talking at the belief level. Okay? And this goes as far as like any topic you can think of. The media has used their influence to change people's beliefs about religion, politics, create wars, right? Like all of it. And it's amazing how powerful it is because of the way we are built as human beings, right? We get information so many times. It gets familiar. The more familiar it becomes, the more believable it becomes. And at some point, we don't question it at all. Okay, so there's negative, positive consequences to that concept where you're getting outside information coming in and then programming and creating a belief. However, here's where you can use it for yourself. And this is the second way. So one is you're getting information from the outside. Another is getting information from the inside. And over time, that repetition of that information creates a belief. Okay? Now, you're probably not sitting there consciously thinking, Joe Rogan is a racist inside. But if you hear it enough, you might say it to yourself a few times and then you believe it. Okay? So it's the external becoming manifested internally. Okay? That then becomes the belief. So here's how you can do this deliberately as opposed to unconsciously, right? So that's how the mainstream media does it. But if you really, and because I've been doing marketing and advertising for 12 years, 13 years, this is something that I learned out very early on, is realize that repetitive exposure creates beliefs. Now, if you do it with deceit, that is something that I've never done that. Like, I always have created marketing that would do it so that it would intentionally empower the individual. If you're not empowering other people, then what are you doing? Right? So, but that being said, there's a lot of marketing and advertising outside of what we do that is deceitful. I'll give you an example. Volkswagen had, this is back a few years, but Volkswagen a few years came out with this fuel-efficient diesel engine, and it was like not no emissions, but it was well within the emissions that were required by certain policymakers of the environment. And you say, okay, that's cool, but how is this relevant to what we're talking about? Well, they actually lied in their marketing, saying that the emissions was lower than what was accepted by these environmental policymakers. In fact, it was 10, sometimes 100 times more the actual emissions that was allowed by law. And this is in Europe, this is in the US, Canada. And these trucks and these vehicles still exist to some degree. So they were deceitful in using the illusion of truth to get someone to believe something. They lied and said that this fuel-efficient vehicle was also low emissions when in fact it wasn't. They didn't even have the technology that they could use to make it efficient. And that was Volkswagen. And then they had this big lawsuit. And the bottom line was, and how it's relevant to what we're talking about, is they used the illusion of truth to make you believe that these vehicles were low emissions and they were friendly for the environment, when it was total bullshit and deceitful. So that's marketing that's deceitful. It doesn't empower people. It is deceitful. It lies to people. Okay? The marketing we do does not do that. It empowers people, but it does use the illusion of truth, because I want to reinforce that you are the one that's creating your world, right? You are constantly creating your world. But if you believe limitation, you're going to create limitation. But if you believe possibility, then you'll create possibility, right? So it really comes down to what you believe. So one way that you can use the illusion of truth to actually create beliefs that empower you, as opposed to ones that you didn't choose, is when you wake up in the morning, you're naturally, and when you go to sleep at night, but in the morning it's usually easier, for me anyways. When you wake up in the morning, your brain is naturally in a theta alpha brainwave state. More theta than alpha, which is that groggy, sort of like you're tired, but you're consciously aware. And if you start repeating something to yourself every morning during that time of day, as opposed to just hit the alarm, get up and go and do your routine, just stay either in the bed or get in a chair or get in a meditation space and just constantly affirm something new. Here's a great one you can use. I am lucky. I am lucky. I am lucky. I am lucky. But be like a parrot. Don't stop. Don't stop. It's not working. I don't know if it's working. Is it working? Forget all that. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. Okay, so you wake up in the morning. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. Here's what's going to happen. Okay, you're in this theta state. You're going to start to feel it. You're going to start to feel the luck. And the words might change. I feel lucky. I feel lucky. That's fine. It's close, right? I'm lucky. I feel lucky. I'm lucky. I feel lucky. Guess what happens? The more that you do that, the more familiar it becomes. The more familiar it becomes, the more believable it becomes, and then it becomes a belief. And you go out through your conscious day feeling and thinking that you're a lucky person. Now, I know a lot of you could probably use that right now, and that's why I'm teaching it, because it's going to empower you. Okay? So just remember, this is what the definition again is of the illusion of truth, is a tendency to believe, quote unquote, false information to be correct after repeated exposure. Okay, the key part to that definition is believe. Regardless if the information's true or not, you can convince and believe that it's true, especially something that empowers you and is not deceitful and trying to harm you. Then that's what you want to do. You want to use it to your benefit, and that's the technology that we have built in to our human body. Biology is the ability to grow and expand through techniques like this. And if you really do any sort of research, you read anything from Bruce Lipton, Biology of Belief, or any of his other books, he will tell you and say that the cells in your body, there's 50 trillion cells in your body. And each one of them can do what your body as a whole can do. They all excrete, they all reproduce, they all have a nucleus, so they're thinking cells. So you have all the functionality of the whole, except they're individual sovereign citizens that are working collectively and cooperatively together. What's the point and why is this relevant? These cells, when you instruct them and you tell them what to do, I am lucky, I am lucky, I am lucky, they will respond to your brain, which is the governor of this body, and they will follow your instructions. But you've got to do it in that state in the morning when you first wake up for 5 minutes and just keep doing it for days until it feels true to you. Because the more you repeat something to yourself, regardless or not if it's true now, the more familiar it becomes. The more familiar it becomes, the more believable it becomes. And instead of having everyone else programming and filling you with beliefs that don't serve or empower you, why aren't you serving yourself? Okay? My name's Steve Martile. Let me know if this helped in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you like this video, if you like the video and like what I shared today, please give me a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thanks again for watching and listening. My name's Steve Martile, and I'll talk to you next time.